Shalom Aleichem, this is Rabbi Kovacs, and Mishnah Yomi is continuing in chapter 1 of Shevuot, Mishnayot 6 and 7 today, finishing up this chapter, which has turned to the subject of Yediot HaTumah, becoming aware there was an issue of impurity. For example, someone became ritually impure, then ate from the sacrificial offerings or entered temple grounds. Yesterday we talked about certain offerings being mechaper, being atoning for different types of tumah, depending when the person became aware of their mistake. Now Mishnah Vav adds, Val Zadon Tumah Mikdash Kadashav. What about someone went Zadon? Bizadon means on purpose. Someone knew he was impure and entered the temple or ate sacrifices. Sira nase bifnim v'Yom Kippur mechapren. The goat which is done inside, well really the shechita, the slaughtering of the goat is done in the temple courtyard, but the blood is brought inside the building. And the ritual of Yom Kippur itself, this is mechaper even for someone who has a tumah problem on purpose and with his awareness. And this is actually based on a pasuk in Parshas Acharei Mos when we're talking about the ritual of Yom Kippur. It's in Leviticus Vayikra chapter 16, verse 16, V'chiper lakodesh mituot b'nei Yisrael, that this offering will atone for the sanctuary, the temple, from the impurities of B'nei Yisrael who went there, umi pishehem, and from their pesha, which is a willing sin, l'chol chatotam, and all of their transgressions. So it's not just the accidents, it's even if the pesha that's done on purpose. And now back in the Mishnah, we turn to the subject of everything else, things that are not tumah, v'al shar averot, Torah, on every other transgression in the Torah, hakalot, those that are less severe, v'chamorot, even those that are more severe. Kal meaning something that's a lav, or something that gets malkut, as we just talked about in Masachet Makot, chapter 3. Chamorot being something that's karet, or has a death penalty by the court, or the like. A zedonot, shagagot, zedon again is something done on purpose. Shogeg is something done by accident or when unaware. Hoda, velo hoda, whether the person is aware of the transgression, or even if they're not aware that they did something wrong, like they ate something and they didn't know, they didn't realize it was chaylev and it was forbidden. Aseh v'lo whether it's a positive commandment to do something, or a lo taseh, to not do or eat something. Kreto to mitot betin, even if it carries a punishment of karet, of being cut off spiritually, or execution. Sira mishtaleach mechaper, the goat that is sent away brings kapara for everything. As we discussed in yesterday's Mishnah, the Yom Kippur offerings have sort of an additional power to be mechaper on tumah above and beyond those of the regalim, the holidays, and the Rosh Chodesh goats. So too the sir mishtaleach, the scapegoat, the one that's sent out to the wilderness and thrown off the cliff, that one is mechaper on everything. Now the Farshim bring, this is the opinion of Rebbe, but the other sages disagree. They say it doesn't work unless the person does tshuva, unless they regret what they've done, and they return, and they resolve not to do it again. And the Rambam brings la halacha, Yom Kippur works on everything, combined with teshuva of the person who made the mistake. And he points out, as Rambam Hilchot Tshuva, highly recommended, he talks about free will also, but he points out that if somebody doesn't believe in Yom Kippur, or somebody doesn't care about Yom Kippur, it's not going to work for them. But somebody, no matter how distant they are, no matter how many transgressions they've done, if they believe that Yom Kippur will help them, and they atone, and they return, and they do tshuva, it's going to work for anything. And Mishnah Zayin expands on this, Echad Yisraelim, whether they're regular Jews, Echad Kohanim, or they are the Kohanim, Echad Kohen Meshuach, or they're an anointed Kohen, like the Kohen Gadol. So then they ask in the Mishnah, Ma bein Yisraelim leKohanim leKohen Meshuach. So what's the difference between Yisraelim and the Kohanim and the high priest? And the reason the Mishnah is asking this question is what we see in Parshat Acharei Mos, when we're talking about the ritual of Yom Kippur. The Kohen Gadol brings his own bull for his own personal atonement. He brings another bull for his brothers, the Kohanim, and then he starts working on the goats for the nation as a whole. So the Mishnah is asking, why do we have these three different levels? So the Mishnah explains, Elisha dama par mechaper ala kohanim, the blood of the bull brought by the Kohen Gadol on behalf of the Kohanim atones for them al tumat mikdash v'kadashav, on any impurity that they've been involved with during their temple service. Rabbi Shimon actually disagrees. Says Kashem shedama seir nase bifnim, just like the blood of the goat, the blood that's brought inside the building, mechaper all Yisrael, it works for the Jewish nation as a whole. Kach dama par mechaper lekohanim. So it's the blood of the bull that works for the kohanim. He says it's two separate things. That the goat works for the rest of the nation, the Israelim, but the bull is what works for the kohanim. Not that the goat works for everyone. And he adds Kashem sheviduya shall seer mishtaleach machaper Israel, just like the vidui, the confession that the high priest recites over the goat that's sent out to the wilderness to go off the cliff. That's mechaper on everything that the Yisraelim did. Kach viduyo shall par mechaper lekohanim. So too, when he recites a confession before slaughtering the bull that's brought on behalf of all the kohanim, that works for the kohanim. So he's saying there are two separate types of kapara here. That in Rabbi Shimon's opinion, it's not that the seir, the goat, works for everyone and everything. It's that the par for the kohanim works for the kohanim, and then the goat works for everyone. So the idea here, I think the logic behind his shita, the Mefarshim point out, is first the Kohen Gadol tries to atone for himself and his family. Then he tries to atone with another bull for his brothers, the kohanim. And then he tries to be mechaper for all of Am Yisrael. So the idea is he's trying to purify himself and lift himself up first, then trying to work on his own family and lift up his family, and then he's worthy as someone who's trying to work towards purity to come and beseech God on behalf of the entire nation to forgive all of us. And it's an important concept for everyone. If you're trying to lift up other people, first try to lift up yourself, and then maybe try to inspire your family. And then, once you've done a lot of work, it's time to try to reach up and help other people out. Yishar kochachem, tizku lemitzvot.